I'm Alex Dykes, and today on thetruthaboutcars.com we are taking a look at the 2015 Lexus IS 350. The Lexus IS is Lexus's answer to the BMW 3 Series, the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, and the Audi A4. The version we're taking a look at today is the IS 350 F Sport. F Sport is to Lexus what M Sport is to BMW, so we don't get any more power under the hood. Instead, this focuses mainly on styling and handling, inside and out. The F Sport package is available on rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive models and with both of the engine options in the IS. Now, Lexus has been accused of being boring and restrained in the past. That's definitely not going on in this modern crop of F Sport products where we get this enormous grille opening. The biggest thing that people notice about modern Lexuses, however, are these headlamps. That's because Lexus has divorced the daytime running headlamp in this Nike swoosh from the headlamp module itself. One thing to note is that we don't get fog lamps in the F Sport trims because that location is taken up by these vent openings. Very unlike the Germans, Lexus is sticking to a naturally aspirated V6 only engine lineup. So you won't find a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine under the hood of the IS at this time, although rumor mill tells us that we might see the one found in the Lexus NX jammed under this hood at some point later. Things start out with a base 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine producing 204 horsepower. You can kick it on up to a 3.5-liter V6 producing 306. The big thing to know here is that although a V6 engine is not as smooth as an inline-6 engine like BMW uses, a 2.5-liter V6 engine is much smoother than a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, which is what you normally find under the hood of base models in this category. IS 250 models make do with a 6-speed automatic transmission, whereas IS 350 models with rear-wheel drive get a new 8-speed automatic. Unfortunately, if you select the all-wheel drive option on the IS 350, you lose a little bit of legroom for the driver, and you also get a 6-speed automatic, not that 8-speed. This luxury category is almost split into two camps. We have the naturally aspirated engine options in the Lexus, the Cadillac, and the Infiniti, and those would be naturally aspirated V6 engines. And then you find turbocharged engines in essentially the rest of the competition. You also find some supercharged engines there as well. Turbocharged and supercharged engines have very flat torque curves. They also produce more torque than the naturally aspirated engines in this segment, but they feel very differently out on the road. So if you like to build power linearly and you like to rev your engine all the way up, then the naturally aspirated engines would be the better choice for you. This generation of the IS has grown significantly over previous generations of the IS, and the difference is mainly right back here in the back seat. We get more combined legroom than we have in any other generation of the Lexus IS. Now, on paper, it may seem like the IS has a more cramped back seat than many of its competitors. However, you have to take a look at combined legroom figures. That would be front legroom plus rear legroom, and the IS is just about the same as the BMW 3 Series or the Audi A4. Legroom in the IS is now firmly competitive with the other entries in this segment, but the trunk does come in a little bit smaller than most of the competition. The styling on the back of the IS is much less controversial than the styling on the front, regardless of the version you get. We have the swoop that goes up from the side right there, continues on to the rear tail lamp modules that sort of mirror the front modules. Things in the back are definitely luxurious. They're also an awful lot more restrained than the front. On the inside of the S, there is an awful lot going on stylistically. We have this top tier, we have a second tier, then we have a third tier down here, and then we have everything going on at different angles. This is very different than the sort of simplistic and elegant design that you see in the BMW 3 Series, although materials quality is actually higher in many areas in the IS than in the 3 Series cabin. In terms of interior parts quality, the new Mercedes-Benz C-Class tops every other entry in this segment, but this is right about on par with the other luxury car entries. You will notice we have a much smaller infotainment screen right here in the center of the dashboard than you'll find in many of the competition. That is one definite downside. Like many of the competitors out there, we don't have standard navigation in this cabin. That is an option. On the driver's side, we have this F Sport steering wheel with shift paddles on the back of the wheel. F Sport models also get this LCD instrument cluster. What makes this instrument cluster interesting is that dial that you see right there is a digital dial, but the ring around it is actually a physical ring that slides back and forth. Front seat comfort is excellent and the driving position is very good in the IS. You should keep in mind that the F Sport model has these very exaggerated bolsters on the back cushion and the seat bottom cushion, so if you're a wider person, you may want to avoid the F Sport model. Previous generation didn't really have the ability to fit a 6'4" or a 6'5" passenger up front, then have a 6-foot person like myself sit right behind them. But you can do that in this model. I actually had this front seat adjusted for a 6'5" passenger I had in the vehicle. I can sit back here with about an inch of legroom. Most importantly, my feet actually fit in the footwells. As with most entries in this segment, headroom is a little bit limited back here. My hair is brushing the ceiling, especially if I lean all the way back in my seat. Out on the road, the IS 350 is difficult to talk about because talking about this IS ruffles an awful lot of feathers, especially BMW owners. I would actually drive a BMW 335i in real-world situations before I drove an IS 350F Sport from a driving pleasure standpoint, because the 335i is definitely faster than this IS 350. However, the IS 350 is a better handling vehicle when it comes to precision. The IS 350 has much better feel out on the road. A lot of that has to do with the steering feel in this IS. It is incredibly precise. The IS does not feel as front heavy as the 335i does either. Depending on the track that you're on, if you're on a very small track, the IS 350 will go around that track faster than the 335i. I know because I've done it. The problem is the 335i is so much faster that if the track is larger, something like, say, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, or your favorite stoplight race, you're going to be faster in the 335i. So it really depends on your priorities. The same thing goes for entries like Volvo's S60 T6, which is both turbocharged and supercharged. It is definitely faster 0 to 60 than the IS 350. Doesn't handle quite as well, although the difference is actually a lot closer than you might think. However, the feel is definitely better in the IS 350, light years better than the S60's road feel in terms of handling. The last 335i I was able to test ran from 0 to 60 in just over 4.9 seconds. That's a pretty big difference in real-world performance between the two. High-end performance, and that's after you're going maybe 60 miles an hour or so, definitely a bigger difference between the two. So 60 to 100, much more noticeable in the 335i. Also, 0 to 30 performance is much better in the 335i, which you wouldn't normally assume would be the case since it is a turbocharged engine, but that torque comes on very, very low in BMW's 3-liter turbocharged 6. If you get the F Sport package, we get wider tires out back and we get higher friction braking components, which really do improve the braking performance in the IS. The IS is definitely no slouch in any form, but the IS F Sport trim really brings us to the top of the pack. Obviously, something like a BMW M3 is going to handle and brake better than the IS 350 F Sport, but that's not really the competition for this particular vehicle. Fuel economy comes in right around 20 miles per gallon thanks to the 8-speed automatic transmission we get in this rear-wheel drive model. If you get the all-wheel drive F Sport, then we do get a 6-speed automatic, which does drop the fuel economy in real-world driving. That's right about the same as most of the competition. If you want 300 horsepower and you want more fuel economy, you're going to have to get something along the lines of a Volvo S60 T6. However, that would be front-wheel drive. The bottom line with the IS is that you really have to decide whether handling precision or 0 to 60 performance is most important to you. Unfortunately, I would have to say that in the real world, I would probably take the 0 to 60 performance and similar handling actual number performance over the handling feel. That's really what you get in the IS. Much improved handling feel, but the handling performance is really not that much different in terms of real-world grip numbers to the German competition. It's all about that feel. Pricing on the IS 250 runs from just over $36,000 to just over $51,000. That's before you start adding dealer-installed options like the optional F Sport exhaust. The IS 250 does not start as low as some of the entries in this segment, so you won't see this start quite as low as the BMW 320i or the Mercedes-Benz CLA, with which I suppose you could compare the IS 250. That's because Lexus sees some of their other models as more direct competitors to those entry-level options from the competition. Remember, Lexus also has the Lexus CT. In addition to that hybrid-only model, Lexus also offers the ES sedan, which is a Toyota Avalon-derived vehicle. That ES competes with the Lincoln MKZ and the Acura TLX, leaving this vehicle to compete with just the rear-wheel drive entries or perhaps the Volvo S60. The S60 is about the same size. The IS continues to be one of the better priced entries in this segment, and Lexus obviously sells on their brand reputation for reliability and dependability. Compared with comparably equipped BMW and Mercedes models, the Lexus IS is significantly less expensive, especially when you compare it with that Mercedes-Benz C-Class. Now, the new C-Class is a little bit different than the 3 Series and the IS. Mercedes-Benz decided to make that C-Class start a decent amount higher. That was allowed because the CLA was slotted in as their base model. My expectation is that the Jaguar XE will be priced along the same lines as the Mercedes-Benz C-Class in that sort of semi-step up, making it decently more expensive than the IS. The BMW 3 Series as it is between $2,000 and $4,000 more expensive when you comparably equip it with the IS. Now, the 3 Series does get significantly more expensive than top-end IS trims, but you can get more luxury options on the inside that are not available on the Lexus. I'd actually say that the ATS and the IS tie for the best handling vehicle in this segment. The ATS is almost an exact replica of the last generation BMW 3 Series in terms of driving dynamics, and the IS has a very, very connected feel to it out on the road. Infinity's Q50 is an interesting alternative. It has actually a better value proposition than the IS because that 3.7-liter V6 is standard on all models. That means for $37,000 you will get significantly more power in the Infiniti. As outlandish as some Infiniti designs have been lately, the Q50 is also more restrained in terms of general style on the inside and the outside versus this IS. My favorite version of the IS is actually the slightly underpowered IS 250 F Sport because it has an excellent feel out on the road. It also gets excellent fuel economy. The big caveat there, of course, is that practically everything in this segment will be faster around a track than it, including the Volvo S60 T5 because it has significantly more power under the hood than we get in the IS 250. The IS 350 F Sport represents an excellent handling alternative to the German options, also significantly more reliable, but again, not quite as fast. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Again, I'm Alex Dykes. Go ahead and click that subscribe button right up there at the top of your screen so you can be updated on all of our latest videos. You should also go and check out thetruthaboutcars.com for news, reviews, and more. Find us over on Twitter, find us on Facebook, do all those sociable things, like this video, comment on this video, and tell me what you want to see us review next.